And we are live. What's going on YouTube Live? It's your boy, Billy Rowe. Today is Tuesday. I'd like to welcome you to the first row. If it is Tuesday and it's not the last Tuesday of the month, well, it is the last Tuesday of the month. So since it's the last Tuesday of the month, you should probably know what that means. It's time for a first row Intersations panel. Tonight, the topic will be, what are you jealous about? Ooh, man, there's so much that I want to talk about in this topic. Present, what's going on, Soldier Bruce? So tonight I got two special guests. We actually had, unfortunately, a person's flight got delayed, so Carolyn is not able to join us tonight. So it's just going to be the three of us, three of the fellas, giving you a man's perspective on what are you jealous about. So for the ladies, oh, look at that, right on cue, Sylvia London. For the ladies in the house tonight, in the chat, we need you to be live. We need you to be vocal because we don't have any estrogen voices to present tonight. So we're going to need you to carry it. So Sylvia, right now, you're the first one in. I'm going to need anybody else who's the opposite sex of us to chime in tonight and carry that woman torch for us if you could, we appreciate it. So with that tonight, let me start off by introducing my guests to the show, or to the audience, I should say. Very first, a crowd favorite, needs dang near no introduction at all. I call him Cousin Mo. He calls me, I'm gonna let him tell you what he calls me. But anyway, Moses Jenkins, y'all can call him Brother Moses. Please introduce yourself, say hello to the people.
Hello to the people.
All right. See, he didn't even tell you what he called me. He called me Cousin Rowe. See how he did me?
What up, Cousin
Rowe? Other than that, the next person, the very first appearance on the first row, and I'm going to just bust him out, so y'all going to have to give him some grace. This very first appearance live anywhere in the world, his first exclusive on the first row. We got he's dang near like my cousin. I might as well call him Cousin Matt, but I'm going to call him Brother Matt tonight. We call him something else from the hood we grew up in. But Matt, if you could please introduce yourself to people, say what's up, hello.
Yo, what's going on, YouTube? My name's Matthew Thomas, good friend of Billy's from way back in the day. This stretches back to junior high school education. Moses as well. The neighborhood upbringing just had us right there in the sandbox with each other. And I'm really happy to be here and just have the opportunity to share this platform with you.
Hey, no, man, I'm glad you came on. So we actually reached out to you right after, was it the show we did, Cousin Mo, right? The show we did?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and you know, Matt was like, I'm game. Matter of fact, he bought a camera. Look at him looking all spiffy tonight. He brought him a fresh and clean camera. His camera lost him.
Man, look. I was not about to try to be out here and be the one with the potato vision on your channel. So.
Oh, you mean like mine's?
With the Digimon Destin? You wasn't trying to be Digimon Destin with the little Digimon?
Not this time.
Cool. So, as always, you guys, with the first row on any Intersation, I want you guys to know that this is a very interactive network. We want you guys to be engaged. We want you to be involved. We want you guys to be able to provide nuggets, to ask questions, to answer questions, whatever it may be. Be involved tonight. Though you'll see the three of us talking and interacting back and forth, realize it's very interactive. Now, for those who are still new to the Intersation concept, what exactly is Intersation? Intersation is very simple. When you take an interview and a conversation and you put the two together, you get Intersation. So in my life, I'm very fortunate to have a ton of friends, family, coworkers, strangers, everything in between that I talk to and have conversations with. And our conversations typically go beyond that surface level of, hey, how was your day? How are you doing? How's life going? And all that stuff into more deeper and meaningful conversations that lead to, well, what does that mean to you? And why do you think that way? Where do you think that originates from? So from those types of conversations, literally Intersations was born. And what Intersations is a literal lens into those conversations so that the same growth that we experience in those conversations is now open and available to everybody who's willing to engage with it. So again, it's an interactive channel. It's an interactive piece of content that I really want you guys to be forward and engaging in. Sylvia London says she's ready. She ain't never scared. Actually, she got an Intersation coming up this month too, or next month, because it's the last day of the month. So next month she has an Intersation coming up that I'm really looking forward to do with her as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. What are you jealous about? I hope just by reading the title, you started thinking about maybe some things you've been jealous about maybe in the past, present, or maybe to some things that you think you might be jealous about in the future. So with that, we're going to start off this Intersation jumping right in. The very first question, Matt, we're going to give it to you as a new guest, just to, let you go ahead and christen the mic. We're going to give it to you. The very first question on every Intersation is exactly the same. What does the topic, what are you jealous about, mean to you?
What are you jealous about means to me pretty much aligning and calibrating what one's personal desires are. And how can I put this? Once you have what it is, that you desire, what you like, or what it might be that drives or motivates you, aligning yourself with understanding that it doesn't necessarily mean you need to be jealous about something if someone is, beyond that or have achieved that before you. That's what it meant to me, but I'm not going to try to dive into that too deep. There's plenty of questions to go along with that. So I'm going to go ahead and try to keep it nice and tight. All right. I'm not going in too deep, but yeah, it pretty much means aligning yourself with what your desires are and what you need to do to achieve them, really.
All right. I like that. And don't worry, man, there's plenty of water in this pool. It can go as deep as you want it to go. Don't trip. Cousin Mo, what do you got? What does this topic mean to you?
So I definitely agree with that first part. You got to align, you got to calibrate, you got to understand what your desires are. And then I'll take it to that next point, and then being selfish about it. Ooh.
Here we go.
Yeah,
all right. I
buddy.
can't even take a sip of water and you over here killing it. I like that, though, being selfish about it. It's funny because when I started thinking about the topic, what are you jealous about? For me, what it really resonated with me was how we live in this society that creates these false lenses into our lives. So you look at social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all these other things that we use to digitally connect. And so I've looked at that and I see how people get jealous, like, oh, I wish I was in Greece, or oh, I wish I was in Mexico. I wish I was there. I wish I had a house that looked like that. I wish we had those relationship goals. Like, I look at that and it's like the lens is so off base from what reality is. It's like, what are you really jealous about? Like, you wish you had that, but you don't even really know what that is, because that's a picture, that's a snapshot of a moment in time. You don't know if this person is going home and fighting for their life in the middle of the night. Like, you don't know what the situation is. So really, it got me thinking, like, really, what are you jealous about? And it's funny because there's a post that I put up a couple years ago on my Facebook page, and it was a picture of me like fake crying. And I took a picture of it and I said, you never see a picture of somebody really crying on Facebook. You might see 16 different angles and the right lighting and all those things, but you never see the pain, the struggle, the stress, the adversity that a person is going through in their lives, because they don't typically put that up as information for you to see. They want to present the best of them, not the worst or not the hard parts that they have to go through. So that's what are you jealous about means to me. But I like that component of selfishness. I like that component of aligning yourself with what your desires are, because really, I think all three of these kind of play in tandem with each other on what we're jealous about and how to get out of that jealousy cycle. So let's jump into it. That's the easiest question you're going to get for the night. Anybody who's in the chat that wants to share what jealousy is or what this topic means to them, please feel free to do so. We're jumping in now. So for my next question, really, I'm going to give you guys both the opportunity to answer this, since we're such a small panel tonight. I want both of you guys to be able to answer this. But the first true question I want to ask is, are people more likely to be jealous of people they know, or are people more likely to be jealous of strangers, in your opinion?
Mind if I start this off, Mom? I feel that it is easier to be jealous of strangers. And the reason I say that is because if someone is a jealous person and jealousy is pretty much comparing of yourself to the next person or something like that. I feel like the disparage between or the difference between, say, celebrities or, like business moguls or something like that, it's really easy to see how wide a scope of difference there is between their position and our position. So when I look at somebody, say, for example, a Bezos or a Buffett or something like that, it's easy for me to, have feelings of jealousy if I were, so inclined. But not to say that it's not easy to be jealous of friends. I'm just saying that in regards to the question, the difference between people who aren't friends, because of how wide that gap is, I feel that allows more room for jealousy to fill in that space between the two.
Okay, Kazuma, what do you got?
I'm gonna take the other side and say it's easy to be jealous of those who we feel like we have some form of connection to, whether that's through our past, we grew up, or we've seen them from the other schools, but we actually have touched it, we've actually experienced it, we've had some type of interaction with them, formally or informally. And I say that because I think in some sense we use it as a measuring stick, right? And it's that direct in your face mirror lens of somebody that for a fact has experienced the same things that you experience, which so now you're able to say, well, the opportunities that I've had, the opportunities they've had, you see what they've been able to do with their opportunities, you see what you haven't, maybe. And because you have that reflective mirror right there in your face, it's easier to sink into that jealous space when you're looking at those things and starting to compare those situations or those things. So I don't know. I don't disagree, but I'm just taking the other side and saying that it could be also possible when you know somebody to find yourself feeling a little jealous.
Okay, I know I can see both sides of that, but I agree with both, and the reason I agree with both is because I think that there is a blend. There is the blend of not knowing somebody, and again, not knowing their struggles and their adversities, and just seeing the success. So not seeing the stress that Jeff Bezos has to go through to be at the level that he's at, to not see those sleepless nights, to not see the grind that he went through, and to be jealous of that because you're so distant from the progress, you're so distant from the growth. But then I do see from your perspective, there's a book that Key Bryant of Keeping It Real Estate, he actually shared a book with me that I listened to on the way back from California on my last trip. It was an Audible book called Chop Wood, Carry Water. And it talked about archery in the sense of the person who was getting ready to shoot an arrow was like, why do I have to be so worried about how I'm standing? Like, I know how to stand. I know how to hit the target. Just let me shoot. And he's drawing back and he's like, okay, the instructor or the sensei, because he was in a samurai camp. I don't know how to call it, but some kind of samurai thing. And so the sensei adjusts his elbow a little bit and does all these adjustments, says release. Whack, hits bullseye, dead center. He says, okay, great, draws back. The sensei adjusts his elbow off a small degree, release, straight past the target. And so he's like, this is what happens in small centimeters, like a small tweak in your adjustment. So when you're dealing with somebody who who you're familiar with, that small adjustment that they're making that's deviating their path from your path, because they grew up in the same neighborhood as you, got roughly the same education as you, had dang near the same summer jobs, working at Taco Bell, McDonald's, or Blockbuster. Like, that's it. Like those, they had the same opportunities.
Shout out Jack in the Box.
Oh, Jack in the Box. My bad.
Shout out Central Theater and Wiener Schnitzel.
Whatever. Blockbuster Video. Long live the king. Even though the king is gone. But even though you guys are on this similar path, their little small tweaks and adjustments are what are separating you from them and them from you. So I can see how both sides can play that, not knowing what was taken to get to a point, but also feeling like, well, shoot, we was talking to the same girls. How'd you end up with like a supermodel? What's up with that? So I can see both of those perspectives. I think if I was to lean towards one, I think it's easier to be jealous of somebody that you don't know. And the reason I think you don't know is because, again, you just don't have all that insight. Sometimes you can see, like, if somebody strikes the lottery, you're like, yeah, but they ain't the smartest tool in the shed, or they really ain't going to be fiducially responsible with that money, because you know them. I feel like I'm a little less likely to be jealous because I'm like, okay, well, there's some other things that they have going on that I don't want. So I don't want to be overly jealous into those things because I know what those are. So that's my take on it, but I do like both of you guys' take. I agree with you guys both, and it's just a question. I just kind of want to see where you guys land. I'm actually glad you guys land on two different sides of that coin, so we can kind of approach this conversation maybe from two different perspectives. The next question that I would like to ask you guys is, in your opinion, how much of a role does our own ego play in jealousy or in being envious of others?
Let me start that one first, because I said, and being selfish about it. So, it is about ego, right? So I'm gonna build where we left. We have a desire, we have a sense of desire, what it is that we like. It may be something that we experience for the first time through the magazine, through some of these artificial lenses, the traveling that we see, the type of homes that we see. And once we have that reflective lens to see what we have versus what we desire, now it's about us becoming more intentional if we want to. I think where jealousy comes in is in that action plan stage, when we're starting to look at the skills that are necessary to get the job that it takes to earn the income that it takes to start saving and investing and to qualify for that loan in order to make those next steps happen on either the home or to take that next trip or this, that, and the third. And it's easier to see people through that artificial lens and see them doing it and not to admire it, but to then be, a little bit off put by it. Like, man, this is impossible, to where it almost shuts us down. But if it's a real deep jealousy, and I'm talking about the type that takes over nations jealousy, that Troy, that Agamemnon jealousy, that snatch your woman jealousy, then you're going to move the world to go get it. And that's the type of jealousy that we start to experience when you start seeing black on black crime, when you start seeing the keeping up with the Joneses, the liposuction generation, where they're pumping their lips up in the booties and they're doing everything that they can to get to that end result without having to go through those real action steps because of the frustration that they might experience. So yeah, narcissism. My ego says, I want it. We're driven by technology that says, I want it now. And because we have technology in the palm of our hands, it's giving us access to the world of things that we never knew that we really wanted. But now we want them, from trips to big old mansions, cribs, and pimped out rides. Baby.
Not to say that they actually took those things back, by the way. The pimped out rides, they would pimp them all out and then take them back, take the stuff back off the car.
That was all for the
nor here nor there. What you got, Matthew?
Well, I personally feel that as for the role of our ego playing in jealousy, I feel like it is the key role. I feel our ego is the sole reason why we even feel jealousy in the first place. Like I said, I don't want to go all the way that deep into it, but I feel like ego, in the sense, the narcissistic perspective of looking at it, makes it to a point to where you allow jealousy, by even looking at yourself from that angle. So I'm not going to say that I don't do that, but to say that, I'm egotistical about the way I do things or whatnot would be far removed from the truth that I really, it's kind of hard for me to be jealous about that type, jealous, period, because I'm content with what I have. That's where my ego is. I'm like genuinely happy with the situation that I put myself in. So it allows me, much more room for not having to feel as if I'm jealous or envious of anyone.
No, I can feel you on that, because even in creating that question for me, it was difficult to think about like times that I'm jealous of anybody. Like, I mean, I've made some horrible decisions and I made some good decisions, but I'm just like, those are my decisions and I rock with my decisions. So it's hard really to see myself as jealous of somebody, but I can also see that when I was younger, I probably had maybe some subconscious jealousy, if there is a such thing as subconscious jealousy, where maybe I wish that I grew up in a house that the parents didn't fight. I wish that I had the father who was more communicative with me. Maybe I was jealous of those things, but then, I go down the street to Tim's house and his dad would be communicative with us and tell us to shut the hell up in the middle of the night because we was making too much noise. So it's hard to be, for me, like where I'm at now, like the types of actions and the choices that I make drive me to not really have time to be concerned with the types of choices other people are making. The only choice I have to make in regards to that is that something I want in my circle? If it's not, then sorry, Xnay, you got to go. But I do think if anything, our ego can play a part if we allow it. If we tap into, like you said, Matthew, that egotistical nature, it can start to play a part. And also, Moses, what you were talking about as far as the shortcuts that people are looking for because of that jealousy or that envious those feelings of envy that they have. They're now looking for shortcuts to circumvent the process. Like, okay, well, I want a big booty, but I don't want to do squats 4 days a week, and I don't want to increase the weight to do that. So I'm gonna stick this in my butt and make it bigger. I want, to be more athletic. So instead of me doing the workout regimen, I'm going to take this steroid to enhance my body to get to what I feel like is what everybody else is looking for. And so really, as the follow-up question to you both to that, I really want to know, do you think that it less than ego and less than envy, really what drives jealousy can be our own insecurities?
You nailed it on the head. That's really what it is. I mean, if it comes to the point where you're even looking at other people for sake of comparison to yourself, that already is a step in the wrong direction. But go ahead, Mo.
Emoji freeze.
Yeah, I see it both ways. So I think one of the drivers, there may be the lack or the things that you don't have. But I think when you're dealing with a different caliber of person who really feels jealousy, like it's hard for me to have a hating bone. Like even when you wear those little shirts and everybody sees all your muscles popping out, yeah, those ones right there, the gun show, and I'm sitting here like with a full button up on. I don't feel like an envy or something. Like I don't feel it from a position of lack, but I do understand that if I did desire that there's where the work entails. And so I think it's similar. I'll always operate from the positive space as much as I can. I think that people are also driven by the things that they desire even more strongly than the things that they don't have. If that makes sense.
No, I definitely get it. It's like wanting something that you don't have versus just something you don't have. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay, I got you. Let's bring some of the chat in really quick.
Wanting something you don't have versus wanting something that somebody else has. So you might see it and it might be something that reminds you of something that you already desire anyway, which is like a sense of security rather than an insecurity.
Okay, I feel that. Really quick, I'm going to catch us up in the chat because, like I said, for those ladies who are watching live, we don't have obviously any estrogen on our panel. So those who are live in the chat are welcome to jump in. The very first thing is from Selena Q. I am jealous of Billy's food prep skills. Just saying. I'm just saying, all you got to do is go on Pinterest and look up recipes, and you too can be a food prep master. Then we got Bruce says, something that you had said, Cousin Mo. He said that's not exactly exclusive to black on black crime. I think it was in the beginning of what you were saying, how jealousy can bubble up.
I was just giving an example, but got you, cousin.
Yeah. All right. Well, then we got Sylvia London. I think ego and or insecurity can play a role in jealousy. Absolutely. You guys are moving the chat while I'm reading. Thank you. And then Mike Lewis says might be more envy versus jealousy.
I don't know if you got to see Mike's comment before he retracted that, but
no, go ahead. What did he say, Matt?
Yeah, I saw that.
I don't got it verbatim, but the point he was touching on, I was like, okay, I see you, Mike.
Well, somebody bring it into the conversation since he redacted it. If y'all read it, you guys see it?
Don't be shy now, man. I think he might have posted the Merriam-Webster of what jealousy or envy was. It looked like it might have been okay. And
okay, got it. All right. I was looking at definitions. Well, you could have left the definitions in. We could use definitions.
We all about it.
So with that, let's move on to the next question. The next question I'd like to ask is, do we, and this is kind of where you were kind of headed, Moses, so I want you to kind of continue your table of thought there. Do we really desire what we are jealous of, or do we desire the perception of it?
Oh, now that's a good one too, because there are things that we haven't experienced, like the trip to Spain that I want, or to go to Egypt, something like that. I've never been there, but I think in the back of my head, or operating in the back of my head, it's being able to post that Snapchat or that Facebook post of me walking around those pyramids, those monumental, colossal inventions, and just so Daniel Collins can be like, yep, I just want to see DC's reaction. Now, of course, I'm watering it down a lot just to make it make sense in our own personal experience. But what I'm speaking to is that mind state, right? Of when I do this, I'm gonna kill them. I'm gonna hurt their feelings if I pull up in this Maybach. And so there is something that says people are going to see me and acknowledge and validate that I've done something, I've achieved a thing. And so that perceived value does have a place in why we make some of the decisions that we make. So is that a jealous thing? I don't know. That's a good spin on it though. But that's my.
Okay, so follow-up question before you jump in, Matt. Follow-up question, because being seen, because I understand what you're saying. I'm not, and I'm just playing devil's advocate. But if being seen is the goal, and getting acknowledgement of your peers is the goal, is that truly a desire of yours, or is the true desire of yours is acknowledgement from your peers?
Yeah, don't be trying to psychoanalyze me, man. First of all, if I ever went to Egypt, I'm going for the research. I need to be in those tombs. I need to feel that spiritual energy and all of that. But if somebody just so happens to see it on Facebook, it's absolutely for the acknowledgement and the validation that I get. Thank you.
All right. Matt, what you got?
I was going to say that, let me look back over this question so I can not mess up the answer. All right. So between what we're really jealous of and what the perception of. All right. So I personally feel that a lot of people are motivated by having the capability of shitting on their peers, stunting on them, being fly on them. We're going to shut them down. We're going to shut the block down. I just feel like that is a bit of it yields a diminishing return. You know, after you've shined and people gave you all your props and everything like that, it ends up being I think it really ends up being empty. So I will say that, yes, people are, they do desire the perception of, you know, all these different things, whether it be happiness or, you know, wealth or what it might be. And desire what we are jealous of. Well, as for desiring what we're really jealous of, I feel like I just got too many feelings, Billy. I'm over here just clouded with the thoughts on jealousy. It's such a difficult subject for me. I'm glad that you actually chose this. I'm glad this conversation is happening, because this is something that I really do truly have a hard time with, because I haven't really quantized, what jealousy, how me and jealousy are going to work out. I was once jealous, as a kid, as you're growing up and everything like that, you do end up being jealous. But, in my adult years, I really have foregone the necessity of the desire for the perception of, being happy, whatever it might be. So while you were saying earlier, no one's going to be posting up, images of them crying or anything like that. They're going to post up images of, their success or their travel or things they got or whatever. I feel like after a certain point, that perception really, it doesn't really mean anything at all. It's of such little value to me. It's hard for me to even really, quantize that into a thought. But yeah.
Okay. But you actually bring up something very important, that moving happiness, that moving target, that as soon as you get to it, it moves, and then you feel empty because you got there. And if it is a, Mo's not talking about you, but if it is an acknowledgement thing, if it's driven by acknowledgement and not by the actual, like Moses saying, I want to be in Egypt and experience that energy and do that research and be in that environment. If it's not that, then you are left very unfulfilled, hoping and wishing that, you didn't have to pay the bill, because there's some money that you spent to get to Egypt. There's some money that you spent to get the surgery. There's some money that you spent to keep up with the Joneses, that now that you don't have, you might have this regret that sets in over this happiness or peace or achievement, feelings of achievement. Those things might set in. The thing that I actually typically resonate with is it's always the perception of something. It's the story that we tell ourselves. So when I think about the things where I know people have been jealous of me, not jealous of other people, just jealous of me, and the things that they were jealous of about me, like, I'm like, but you don't do what I do. You haven't invested what I've invested. So you're just jealous of the perception of it. where you think I naturally got that. And I see this a lot in a lot of the relationships that I have, because I have a lot of female friend relationships that are not like, oh, that's just my friend, you know, and we're sleeping together. No, just female friend relationships. And I've seen where they'll get into relationships and their partner now all of a sudden feels uncomfortable with me around, like, oh, that Billy guy wants you, or that Billy guy, he has something for you. And it's like, but I've known them for 20 years and I haven't tried to do anything with them. So, I mean, I don't know if you know me or not, but I'm not the slowest moving snail in the race. So it's always a perception thing, but they haven't been there when, like, this person calls me in the middle of the night and is crying, or this person has needed to borrow money, or this person's family is like, hey, you know, Billy, why don't you come over? And I'm like, I really don't want to, but we're celebrating such and such. Okay, I'll be on my way. They haven't been there during those moments of investment. So it's the perception of, oh, well, the only reason that he's connected, or the only reason that you guys feel this strongly about him, is because he secretly likes you. No, I don't secretly like you. I've also experienced it in the job realm, where people are always saying, oh, you're lucky that you have the job that you have. And they don't see the work that I've put in. They don't see the work ethic that I put in when I didn't have the job that I had, to get to the place where I could be noticed by somebody who could give me the job that I had, and then deal with that personality for 5 years to get the experience so that I can go and get this job anywhere I want to go in the country. So I think for me, it's always going to lean to the perception, not really what we're jealous of. Like, it's just the perception of what we see it as. And that is always going to come down to the story that we tell ourselves about the other person's situation. So I got a tool from the first row on that one that I'm going to share with you guys later tonight. But that's what I think it is. Since there's only three of us, let's bring in what Selena Q says. She says, I feel like jealousy can also come from someone's lack of motivation to do it, to do it / get it themselves, or for themselves. So yeah, I agree with you on that jealousy may come from, cousin Mo not hitting the weights, and then he gets mad.
All over here. What you talking about?
I'm messing with y'all, but I do absolutely agree with that. So let's move on to the next question that we got here. And we're about 30 minutes in right now, so we might actually make some pretty good time tonight for an Intersation panel, but I think it's because our panel's smaller. For you guys, what are some of the foundations that we actually build to promote jealousy in our lives, like in our own lives? What are some of the tools that we use to build jealousy, or build an atmosphere or an environment that can breed jealousy in our own lives?
I feel like you were talking about earlier with social media. Social media is definitely a contributing factor. I feel like it would be a good catalyst for a lot of people to breed jealousy. But outside of that, outside of social media, would just be regular media, TV, news, music videos, things of that sort. You're destined to come across things that are going to put the idea in your head that there's a certain achievement you should have had, or somebody should be capable of this, or these preset notions that you are supposed to be something that society has put in place for you at a certain point in your life, or something like that. And I feel like allowing those to cause you to feel jealousy or something like that, once again, is the first step in the wrong direction.
We're going to talk back on that social media. Cousin Mo, what you got?
I'm going to just give one major one, because I can get pretty long-winded, but the standards that we try to condition ourselves to aspire for and with, I would say, in our relationships, whether professional or personal, can set a stage for developing jealousy, right? So let me dive a little bit deeper. I don't want to say it twice, though, but we're looking at standards, right? And how those can be used to be a building block for jealousy in our personal and professional lives. Personal lives, you come into a relationship with a certain expectation. That expectation is actually a duty for somebody else to comply with. If they're not meeting that certain duty, then it starts to bring about an awareness or a cognizance that you want to watch out for, because you want to make sure that they're meeting your standards, and you want to sell yourself as excellence as well. But if they are not upholding their duty, it is something that you start doing jealous type stuff. So you start wanting to check in on them. You start wanting to have them over communicate. You want them to answer the question why. And if they're really focused on doing something other than what you think they should be doing as an expectation to meet that expectation, if they're not prioritizing it, then it becomes an issue. And once it becomes an issue, we're starting to see how it's building up, right? Now You're prioritizing all of these other things besides what it is that I said was really important to me in the relationship that I wanted to have. And therefore, if there are other things in our own personal relationship that are more important than being what we want to be for each other, i.e. you doing what I just told you to do, I have an empathy, I have a modus, I'm starting to operate from that spirit of jealousy. It also happens when we have high expectations. I know my worth in the workplace. So in a professional environment, if I want to achieve a certain high mark and I'm not getting paid the salary for it, I will start to compete a little bit more solidly. I will start to perform a little bit more. I'll start to be my own politician. I'll start tightening up that resume and building my board of directors so that I can move up. And if I'm not being able to move up, I will become cognizant. I'll start looking at the people who are moving up. I'll say, why is that person moving up when I'm exhibiting all the characteristics of a pace setter, of a leader in this organization? And I'll start making that pathway towards either jealousy or for my promotion. But those are the examples that I have.
All right. It's funny because what you're talking about, Sylvia London in the chat said comparison is a tool that we use. Absolutely. Like the name your price comparison tool. We over here naming our price on other people's status, other people's accomplishments, other people's paychecks and everything. And we're saying, well, the price of that should be what I've done. Well, it may not be the price of that. I actually was reading on LinkedIn an article about a young lady who was the number one candidate for a position that she had interviewed for. However, she didn't get the position because the person hired their friend, not because they were the number one candidate, but hired their friend. And she was upset about that and ended up leaving the company, not because of that, but ended up leaving the company. And instead of saying, oh, well, I was number one, at that point, when you are number one, there's nothing to compare yourself to. If you're the top prime candidate, there's nothing to compare yourself to. And then having to look and say, oh man, I lost out on that job because I wasn't friends with the person. Well, I didn't come here. I'm not paid to come here and make friends. I'm paid to come here and do my job and, maybe network professionally, but I'm not here to build friendships. I actually experienced the next thing that was added. I'm sorry, the second thing, third thing. Mike Lewis says success breeds jealousy, in my opinion. The third thing that was said was Selena Q says materialistic mentality. I think that in the society we live in now, because we are more consumers than producers, that materialistic aspect can catch you up every time. And I forget, it must have been 2006 or 2007, before the housing bubble burst. I remember everybody was buying a house. I mean, everybody. I mean, people I knew didn't have good credit and I knew didn't have a good job was buying houses, because all you had to do was go in. They just tell you, oh, well, just say you make this much and we'll get you a loan. It's variable. Don't worry. Rates are great. You can refinance. All this stuff was being said. And I almost got caught up. Maybe that's when the last time I was getting jealous. I almost got caught up in that. And we were like this close from starting to buy a house. And then they were like, well, the mortgage is going to be, I think the mortgage is going to be like $2,200 a month. And I was like,
that's a whole mansion in Georgia. That's town, bro.
Right. I'm like, okay, I just graduated in 1999. It's 2006 or 7. I don't know if I can swing that indefinitely. Like, I was making okay money at the time, but it was that price that really said, okay, do you really want to be locked in at a house? Because what if you can't refi? What if it's a variable rate and the rates go up and that $2,200 becomes $2,500? Do you want to be in that situation? And I was like, yeah, we're going to hold off on buying a house. Between time, I'm still seeing people buy houses and I'm not happy about it because I want to own a home. I'm living in a duplex, a 2-bedroom duplex with a family of 4. And what ends up happening is obviously we all know the housing bubble bursts. And now all those people who were just saying they made 150,000 to get the house and they make 2 million to get the house. Now all of a sudden, all those people were upside down in their houses. I'm just renting a duplex. And so now the people who I was maybe jealous or envious of are now envious of me. Like, man, bro, I should have stayed out of the housing market. I should have got me a 2-bedroom duplex with my family. Like, so it's for me, I think we promote it through those materialistic comparisons that they got this bag, I gotta get this bag. They got those shoes, I gotta get those shoes. Y'all went to school with me. You know, I don't think y'all ever seen me in a pair of Jordans because I know I never owned a pair of Jordans.
I know ain't nobody ever seen me in that. But carry on.
Right. Really quick, I'm gonna catch up the rest of the chat and then I want to move on to the next question. Mike Lewis, if I can't have, neither can you attitude. Absolutely. Just sour for no reason. I've never understood that, but just upset that you have something that I want. I mean, whether it's a relationship that is no longer my relationship, if I can't have her, you can't have her either. Or if it's just, just anything like materials, it could be money. If I don't have the money, then you shouldn't have the money. It could be anything. But that mentality is very toxic. What's the word, Moses? Toxicity?
Toxicity. I got it now.
Oh, snap. Cousin Mo got the word. All right, Cousin Mo, your wife is shooting in from the chat. All right, estrogen on the side. Wifey says it's past experiences. People don't want to feel the same way as when they felt bad. True, they want to move on and feel better. Wifey also wants me to add being jealous because you want someone. Attention seeking can be a gateway into jealousy. Ooh, see, this is where she needs to stop playing and be on so she can elaborate. Tell her I said elaborate on that, Cousin Mo. Say, baby.
Baby.
All right. So then Selena says, definitely agree with wifey. The past and painful experiences from the past can stir up jealousy. Mike Lewis, 2,200. Oh, 2,200. That's a house. That's a house. That's a house. True. And Sylvia Lennon agree. Attention seeking for sure. Moving on to the next question we got here. In your guys' opinion, when it comes to interacting with people and being jealous of other people's situations, in your opinion, why is it that envy typically may creep up in a person rather than being happy for that person, especially when it's a person you know? Cousin Mo, you said you were on the side of people you know, right?
Absolutely.
Can you elaborate on that first, please?
Yeah, so envy rather than happiness. What is it, like 7 times a negative thing can only be said once, but you need 7 reinforcements or 7 positive reinforcements. It's a number somewhere around there. We're programmed, right? What we see in the media, we're waiting on the bad guy. We're waiting on something bad to happen. Paranoia or schizophrenic in relationships, we're waiting for it to go wrong. We have an expectation that sets that precedent. And then even on the relationships that we have, when we see people, it has to be some bad news. Man, if you send me a Facebook post and I haven't talked to you in about 4 years, the first thing I'm gonna think is that you need some money. You're doing bad. Like that's man, you can't send me a chain letter. I'm like, oh, he need $100. Let me go and get my pocketbook ready. I don't know why it is. It's probably because we've been programmed, right? The shows we watch, the music we listen to, it's all bad. Things go bad, and we really haven't been trained. Well, many of us really haven't been trained off just that positive experience or those positive communications. Wake up in the morning, hey, how are you? It's a beautiful day this Monday morning. Happy Monday for you. Should I get some cereal for you? No, we didn't get catered to on a positive vibe. We got catered to on the lens of it's going to be hard for a young African-American man. It's going to be hard for a Hispanic man. It's going to be hard for being a man in general. Oh, you're a woman. It's going to be doubly hard. See, I got a new word for y'all this week. Doubly hard. Because you have all of these different threats and things coming at you. There's a risk here. You can't go out and do that. Don't do that, especially not after 10 o'clock, unless you're with Brother Mo, because I can show you how to do it and have a great time and still come home safe. Anyway, I can ramble for a bit, but I think it's because we've been programmed by those who are also in fear. And then we've been less programmed by those who are operating from an intense space of love.
What you got, Matt?
Okay, envy is going to creep instead of happiness because they're not doing Selena had said it earlier, the lack of motivation. I feel like if you are chasing after the bag, like if you're doing what you need to do to pursue what it is that you actually desire, not just a perception of it, what you actually really want, I feel like you would be too busy to have envy creep in. I feel like allowing envy to creep is definitely a how can I say, a mistake on the person who's feeling that way. It's a mistake on their behalf to even allow that to happen. But the creeping part, I can understand that. Hell, I feel like when my friends do something great, when someone else does something great, there is a hint of jealousy, but not so much that it is envy, more so than it is admiration. It's really it's admiration for me, and I really do like I see it. I'm happy for them, and I feel genuine happiness. But you know, it is real easy to look at somebody's toilet and be like, that sure is a nice toilet, but it don't got a bidet. You know, people say that. You know, so it's
wait, there's a storyline behind that.
Half people don't even know what a bidet is.
Right.
Justo got a new house. One of our friends, we got to tell him a story. Justo got a new house. He called us all in. We're all in the area to go check out the house. Big, humongous house for him and his family. We're all proud. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, we're at like 100. Like we're proud. Go all the way to the house. We're looking at the big rooms with his kids got like a vaulted ceiling. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so we're walking through like everything is nice. It's brand new. It smell like that good money right there. So we're talking to it. He had worked hard to get his credit score up. They had been working 2-3 jobs. His wife started a business and everything. So we're congratulating him just to get to the bathroom and was like, oh, it's nice, but you ain't got no bidet in this bed. So I killed him, like all the way dropped it to like a 4. Just my bad, man. I ain't mean to cut you with. Go ahead, brother Matt.
It's all good. The joke's been going on. The joke's been going on, and I really do feel like that joke really embodies a lot of what this conversation is about. Because seriously, people do have an issue. You know, somebody will look at it and be like, that Lamborghini fly. I bet they rented it. Or, you know, them show with some nice shoes. And I wonder if they knockoffs. You know, it's the type of feeling where that envy creep, that jealousy creep, it will come in there. It comes in small increments for myself, but it is easily manageable. Like I said, if you're being motivated and chasing after what it is you desire, it's easy to fight that off.
I like that you add a different, because Cousin Mo, you're always looking for the positive. I'm okay with positive and negative, but you're looking for the positive. That admiration kick, though, to jealousy is really positive, healthy jealousy. You're not jealous in the sense of, I don't want you to succeed. I don't want you to have less, but I admire what you have, and it makes me want to strive to get more of what I want, which may not be your toilet without the bidet.
Right.
Oh, hello. Oh, she act like she's like, you act like somebody scared. I ain't scared of you.
I haven't seen y'all in a while. I just wanted to say hi.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on, Z? How you doing?
All right now.
Absolutely.
There's something that Mick Frisco said in here. It says, oftentimes you may feel the other person who is winning never worked as hard as you did. Ooh, anybody want to jump in on that one right there?
No.
See, Matt, you got anything to say to it?
Okay, oftentimes you may feel the other person who's winning never works as hard as you did. Well, all right, so that does happen. Like that's really deep. Man, there's so many layers to that particular statement because there's so many opportunities where it can be applied. Like, hell, I think the military is a fine example. You got soldiers that are out there busting their ass, working long hours, missing time with their family, missing meals, doing whatever it takes to complete the mission. While you got other people who were like, you know, the pets, the sergeant pets, you know, somebody who don't necessarily got to do nothing but run fast and shoot a gun, and suddenly they get promoted above their peers. That type of situation does create a situation where it would be easier to feel jealous about somebody who's winning over yourself.
You know, I agree with that. I think that's jealousy, and I also think that's frustration. But one thing that I have experienced personally, and I've experienced through observation, is those people who typically get bumped up, ill prepared for that bump, for leadership or whatever it may be, they struggle in those areas that they get promoted into. I've seen where, I mean, people who have been over me were not, they weren't good. They weren't good leaders. They were good people, but they weren't good leaders. And part of how they got into where they were at was based on the time in the market that they got in. So they've been there a long time. They have a lot of tenure. They move up because they've been there. But they never really acquired the people skills necessary for leading and managing people. And so you see them struggle with that, and you'll see the turnover that happens from that. I've literally sat back and watched like, dang, there goes another one. Well, that person's getting ready to quit because you just talk to them this way, and people don't, I mean, nobody wants to be spoken to that way. So I understand the frustration in that, but if you allow somebody who hasn't put the work in to get to the level that they're at some point there's a failure, and hopefully not for them. And hopefully not for them. It's not a catastrophic failure. You see that when muscles blow up from you got steroids. Now you look like you could lift 10,000 pounds until you got 10,000 pounds on your chest and you go to lift it. And that muscle says, yeah, pimp, we didn't work to get to this stage. We ain't got you like that. But I've also, like I said, I've experienced that myself where in my very first marriage, I'm jumping into marriage, and as a lot of young people do, or young people did back then, we got a kid, let's make this official, let's make this right. Okay, now we're married. I'm jumping into a marriage. However, I haven't taken the steps to prepare as a husband. I haven't taken the steps to even know what a husband is. And if I'm using the examples, or the example that I grew up with, it wasn't the best example. Like, my father was there, but he was disconnected and kind of present, like it was the hokey pokey game. So because of that, I'm now ill prepared to be a husband, yet I'm trying to promote from boyfriend to husband like I'm ready, I could do it. And it's no wonder to me, and I remember reading some of my previous journal writings where it was like, both of us don't know what the hell we're doing. Like, you don't know how to be a wife, and I don't know how to be a husband, and I'm too young to have patience for you, and you're too young to have patience for me. And so then you have a failure of a marriage because, while everybody was there and happy for us that day, I hope our relationship goals, I hope I get something like that, somebody I can be with. And then now we're divorced and we don't even talk. And it's like, well, yeah, because there wasn't enough invested in the beginning to carry that further. So I think there are those moments where you might feel like the person didn't do the work ethic and they're getting the gains, but they're ill prepared for the gains. And normally that leads, if they're not willing to put the work in after the fact, normally that leads to some kind of failure. Selena Q says, wait a minute, I think I lost my place. Oh, sorry. Sylvia says, agree with McFrisco, watching people get handouts while you feel like you're busting your behind and not getting the results you're working so hard for. That is very frustrating. Yes, ma'am, Frisco says. And then Selena says, I think it comes from knowing that person, and the envy can creep in because you know their past behaviors, work ethic, moral code. It is. I'm not going to lie and say it's not frustrating. But I'm always going to stand by this when it comes to the professional realm. It's not that it's not frustrating to see people who you felt shouldn't be promoted get promoted. That's not that frustration is okay. It happens. However, it's when you get distracted and you say, well, I'm not going to do X. I ain't going to do that anymore. And you start self-sabotaging yourself. That's when jealousy really comes in, because then you're going to get passed up on like 4 more promotions. And it's going to be like, look, they just promoting everybody, but don't nobody want to promote me. No, now you're in a sour, bitter beer face, and you're setting yourself back further and further and further from not only a promoting opportunity, but from an opportunity that ain't the only company in the world. You can go work for another company doing what you want to be promoted into if you have that right work ethic. So what do you guys think about that before we move on? Oh, scared? Okay. Cousin Mo, Matt, what y'all got?
I agree.
Oh, see, Matt, you got to be like Cousin Mo. He just be one-liners. Nope.
Look, I'm a die when I got some traction. I'm gonna pull up out the blocks, but let me get some traction first.
All right, no worries. Let's catch up in the chat and then move on. Brother Bruce says, "Man, y'all trying to peel the onion." #layers. Mike Lewis says, "Selena Q, spot on." Bruce says, "I got a dude mad at me and my success because he's been on the job a lot longer and has more knowledge. He wants the recognition I'm getting. LOL. And I exaggerated on my my resume."
That's what they'll say.
All of a sudden, ain't that funny? Mark Anthony, welcome. Hello, all. Glad I made it. I'm glad you made it too, brother. And that's exactly it. Work ethic. True. There's I gotta find it. There's a writing that I did a couple years back, and one of the parts of it says a lot of people want what others have, but they're not willing to put in the work ethic that person put in to get it. And that is like the epitome of how jealousy kicks in. Like, oh, I don't want to do the work. I want to do the shortcut. Well, guess what? If the shortcut was easy, everybody would do the shortcut. And in the words of, I think the movie is Without a Paddle. If the shortcut was easy, everybody would go that way and it would just be called the way. So moving on to the next question we got here. And we're almost towards the end of the question. So for those who were in the chat, I want you guys to start putting in things that you're taking away from the conversation or nuggets that you want to leave in the conversation. You guys have been really interactive tonight, and I appreciate that. The next question I want to ask is for Matt. We'll go with you first. What do you think causes us to feel as if it's always somebody else's time? Like it's always somebody else's winning and it's never my time. Like when is it going to be my turn? What do you think it makes us cause to feel that way?
Always looking at somebody else.
Oh, snap. No.
Yeah.
Look, get out they back. Let them focus on that. Like I said earlier, if you was chasing after what it is that you really desire, you ain't gonna feel like it's somebody else's time. You're gonna feel like it's your time. And the people, I feel like people who do feel like it's their time and they embrace it, I think that we need to look at them. We need to admire the gully that they have that's driving them to motivate them to feel like it's their time. And yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel about that particular question.
That's a great answer. You made it so simple. I actually put damn in the chat and it blocked my own little thing. I can't even type the word. Okay, I got to type it differently.
Darn.
Dang, I think it may have timed me out. Oh, well, I can't type no more in the chat, y'all.
You got kicked from your own thread.
That's hilarious. Hey, Moses, can you unlock me so I can participate in the chat again?
Nope, I don't know how.
Oh, okay. Well, forget you then, man. What you got on that question, Cousin Mo?
Man, I gotta 100% agree. It's what you're focused on. If you were focused on yourself, then you would feel all your small victories because you would know, the small things that are starting to add up and how many times this thing didn't work and now it finally worked. And so you'd be one time, finally got it. And then now you're going on to the next thing. Your priority list would have so many things on there and then so many subgroups of things that you need to do in order to accomplish this one thing that's all you see is that, oh, I finally was able to check that off. I was checking that off. I checked that off. And if you don't have a list like that, so much time on your hands to keep looking around and seeing what everybody else is having successes with. And then you may only just be seeing their outcomes, not seeing their inputs. I think you've driven that home numerous times tonight. You're looking at their outcomes of what they've shown you, and especially if you're on the social media Snapchat, or if you're watching TV or the music video where you just see those images that they've portrayed, when rather your eyes, you got to put those blinders on like a racehorse and focus in on that board that you've created of things that you need to accomplish. And if you don't have a board of things that you haven't accomplished yet, please hit up Brother Rowe. And that's my cousin. He will take some time with you and say, what are you passionate about? We'll have the email in the description box. Holla at him fast. Or you can holler at me too. I'll be there too. But yeah,
say you didn't give out your email. You giving out my email.
Yeah,
no.
Putting it on Cousin Rowe with the big arm.
Oh, so I can carry more. Got you. I think I'm back in the chat. Here, I'll put it in there for y'all. Yeah, I'm back. Oops, I
There
spelled
you
that
go.
wrong though. It's Roe. It's WROE. My bad.
Rope.
Rope, but it's just Billy.Rowe at 1stWroe.com. You guys, you're welcome to reach me there anytime. No, I agree with everything that both of you said. I think, but I'm gonna just say, Matt, that you knocked that one right out the park from the gate. Like, if you was not so busy trying to drive the car next to you while you driving your car, maybe you'd be in your lane.
Right,
And
right.
maybe you get some
Keep
traction.
your eyes on the
Right, on the road, please.
right.
Thanks, Kazuma. I'm gonna remove mine. There we go. So my next question, and I'm going to pick up the pace on the question because we're actually already at an hour. My next question that I want to ask you guys is, with jealousy, I feel like there's two different ways you can go. You can use your jealousy as motivation to start putting in the work to get the things that you see other people getting that you actually desire, or jealousy can kind of set you back. In your experience, and maybe not even your personal experience, but experiences that you've observed, what have been some of the things that jealousy has done to create those setbacks? Not necessarily the motivation side, but the setbacks that jealousy can create.
Let me start. Yep. So motivation or a setback, you choose. The setback. There's a couple of things that I thought that I would accomplish just based off of this view that by the time you're 21, you should have accomplished X, Y, and Z. By the time that you're 30, this should have been knocked out, and so forth. I'll tell you one, our love for music goes real deep. It's not just a pastime or a hobby. If we could sit some time out right now, we'd probably reinvest in that same equipment, not because we want to be the next 2 Chainz or major rapper. The what's that dude who wrote Middle Child? It's a hot song.
J. Cole.
Yeah, J. Cole. I may not want to be the next J. Cole, but I really love music. But unfortunately, growing up in that dynamic where if it wasn't, bringing in more women or packing out a show, or you wasn't selling 100 albums or getting 100 likes, then you really weren't somebody that was a success in music. And so I think I gave up on myself in music, and I took that excuse. Well, now I'm a man now, and I got to get focused, and I got to do things that pay the bills. Yeah, that's true. And I still have a passion for music. So if I wouldn't have taken my blinders off and start looking at what the expectations were, what everybody else was saying, and all of this, I'm not making money from it, then I would have at some point found my balance between working and then having that sense of satisfaction coming home, being able to put down a slapper or drop some bars or, collaborate. Hey, cousin Ro, what you think about this? And so we could still do this and have these live panels and discuss these major topics and then be like, hey, can you listen to this beat for me that I've created? Give me your feedback. And I would have found my balance. But because I got distracted by jealousy, looking at what other people were doing, looking at their expectations and how they defined success, I failed myself.
That's interesting, Matt. Before you kick in, Moses, what you're talking about is how we basically shrink our desires before we even get them. And so we say, oh, I don't want to be in that box. I don't want to be in that box. And that's why you go to the place of, well, I want to be a man. Well, there's plenty of men that rap. There's plenty of men that do music, that produce, that are in the music industry, that make a great living. And it's funny because in a lot of ways, that's why I didn't go into a more artistic role, because I thought, I got to be able to provide for my family, and dancing as a backup dancer or doing gospel rap or doing whatever it may be ain't going to pay them bills like they need to be paid. So I got to man up and let that dream and let that desire go because it doesn't fit into the box the way that I want it to fit into the box. When in actuality, I could probably take one of your beats today and write something. And I wasn't writing for like an audience, like, oh, I want people to hear me and to get out there like that. It was like, I just want to write some music that I can listen to and not be frustrated that they mumble in, or be frustrated that every other word is a cuss word, or be frustrated about, like, I'm not really relating to the lifestyle you guys are talking about. Like, I really seen that lifestyle. And so how you guys are edifying and glorifying it, I don't rock with that, because I've seen how that's destroyed and killed people in my family, how that's killed people in my family via whether they got killed, murdered, or they killed themselves on drugs. So those are the things where we shrink our desires to, like, okay, well, it has to fit in this box because this is the only space that I got. So you got to fit here. You don't fit here. Okay, I can't have you. I can't keep you. So I like that you bring that to the surface. Brother Matt, what do you got?
As for I'm not muted, am I? Okay. As for setbacks that jealousy would cause, I could see that being metaphorically compared to just biting off more than you can chew, just trying to keep up with the Joneses and then falling out of the race. When you set it up for yourself that other people's achievements or whatever are benchmarks that you're using, for yourself to measure yourself by, you end up creating a bit of a pitfall there. Uh, you know, trying to keep up with other people and their achievements, and it can ruin credit, it can ruin relationships, it can lose jobs. There's all sorts of things. I mean, jealousy pushes people to a lot of edges. I mean, sabotage, you could try to sabotage somebody, get caught up in the sabotage. Trying to set somebody up, trying to corner somebody on something out of some jealousy, and end up looking like a complete ass. So those are some of the setbacks I would associate with jealousy.
It's funny. I like that you bring in the relationship aspect of jealousy, because the photo I used was a guy looking over a girl's phone to basically, what are you jealous about? And like, I've always had this motto of like, regardless of who you texting and what y'all talking about, you're here with me right now. And so if it's I don't like the way I feel because we're supposed to be spending time and you're not present, that's one thing. I'm going to address that every single time. But if it's oh, well, who's that? I don't care who's on your phone, because they're not here. They're not in the physical presence of us both. So if that's who you want to spend your time with, you can get up and leave and go and be with that person. If that's what you really want to do, I'm okay with that, because I'd rather have you here present with me than here absent in the mind and you all dialed into the social media thing. Like, I just can't get down with that. But I also like the fact that you talk about keeping up with the Joneses, how it can really fatigue us when you're running at a clip that you're not conditioned to run at, whether that's emotionally, physically, financially, whatever it may be. When you're running at that clip that somebody else is running at because you're trying to keep up, that's when you're going to blow your hamstring out. Like, your leg's going to be like, yeah, no, we don't do that. That's when the cramps set in. And when those cramps set in, not only are you now not running at that clip, you're not running at all. You're down. Your race is over until you heal up. And I think that's what, for me, the setback that jealousy causes. When you start getting into those toxic behaviors to sabotage, to try to, one up somebody or outdo somebody, you set yourself up to on like this shaky platform, and all it takes is the wrong breeze to come through, and now you're on the ground. And the cool thoughts that you thought you was going to get in those accolades or whatever it may be, all that stuff is now you're the laughing stock, and now you're the person that people are like, oh yeah, no, I don't want my daughter to be with that person, because you were striving so hard to be, I want everybody's mama to be like, I want that to be my daughter's husband. Look, I'm gonna find one. It's going to either work. It's either going to work or not work. But I'm not here trying to win over mothers across America. Like, it just ain't going to happen. Let's bring the chat in really quick before I ask you guys this second to last question. The chat stopped at, Miss Selena Q, I'm going on Pinterest. This is her takeaway so far. I'm going on Pinterest to look up meal prep ideas. Okay. But really finding what motivates me and really focusing on my victories, keeping positive people and outlets in my grasp. My take on today. True. I like that. Bruce says the music dialogue hits home. I know Bruce is definitely a music head. He and I have a lot of the same taste. Mike Lewis, who sabotaged at Matt Thomas fingertips. You're stupid. And then that's all. We just bagging. Okay. So the last question that I want to ask you guys, or second to last question I want to ask you guys, I don't mind whoever goes first. What are some of the actions that you have taken to reduce jealousy in your own lives?
For me personally, to reduce jealousy in my own life, I like I've addressed several times in this conversation, I just be in my own bag, man. Just really thinking about, what's the best moves for me and my family. Like, I really can't think about moves outside of my family now. It's like they're plugged in as a package deal. So the tools that I use is thinking about situations that I can put my family in that are favorable for them and myself moving forward as we go through life.
What about
I'm gonna give y'all some real talk from a personal perspective, personal. So the jealousy in my situation really was coming from my wife, and it was for good reason. I'm handsome, sex on a sandwich. We needed as the relationship, we needed to find a way to help her mitigate some of her jealousy. And that comes not everybody is, they haven't experienced a trauma or something that's pushed them into a space of being more reflective or even knowing how to reflect on what they desire, what they don't desire. And not everybody has been accustomed to having that positive communication or positive reinforcements. So if there was that negative communications coupled with the expectations and the past experiences, it was a petri dish of things that created jealousy around every little thing that I could do. And so we did somewhat similar to like Mike is saying, what is it that you're really passionate about? How do we help her get more active in those things? And then in order to help with some of those internal things to become more reflective and to start having those conversations to really get to root issues, we really had to sit down and talk. So I could show you, but we have on this wall our Jenkins Family Values Board. We actually had to go through the exercise and write down what are the things that you really like. On hers is like, I encourage academic achievement, independence, money, marriage, and then we went down, why is that important to you? Give me some examples of why that's important to you in your life. What would you do if you didn't have these things? And what would you like to see grow from these things? So we did a whole vision board. I did one the same. I'm interested in providing guidance. I desire honest communication. I fear isolation. I prioritize individualism, but my goal is to encourage my family to succeed. And then we kind of drove those same things. Well, what happens if you don't? What happens if you do? Kind of like a cell cycle on ourselves to see where we wanted to be. So that's a personal look into dealing with jealousy, because it was getting to that point where it was like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what to tell you. My name is Moses, and I want to go forward. But if it was allowed to continue, it was really going to be one of those things that was detrimental to the relationship. And we really wanted to really enjoy our positive moments. So I'm glad we did it. It's something that worked for us. It's still a work in progress, but it is something that we're seeing some gains with. So that's for y'all.
It's funny what you're bringing up is really, is there a such thing as valid jealousy? And I think the only thing that I can give space to validate jealousy is in a relationship. Now, there are some people who, like you said, are schizophrenic in the relationship. Everybody's out to get them, everybody cheating, everybody doing something else. There are those people. However, there are sometimes, especially, and it's just because of the way I think as men, there are some things that we can do to create that petri dish for that bacteria to grow for jealousy. And so I like the fact, like Matt, you saying, for me, I always have to think about how are my decisions going to help my family move forward. When you're thinking like that, then you don't find yourself in an affair because you're like, oh, shoot, well, if I go over here and sleep with this girl because she's attractive or because she's paying me some kind of sexual attention, that's going to move my family maybe in two different directions. And so it may not be that you're not attracted. It may not be that, oh, well, I find her attractive. Yeah. I mean, if I was in different circumstances, maybe I'd be attracted enough to sleep with her. However, it doesn't move the needle in the direction that I'm trying to move right now. And that is moving my family forward. So Cousin Mo, I appreciate your honesty and your transparency in that one. Mark Anthony says, I'd say just focus on your own greatness. Other success is just for them. Others, apostrophe S, success is just for them. Your success is just for you. Absolutely true, Mark Anthony. I'm telling you, Matt summed it up. Stay in your dang lane. Keep your eyes on the road. If your eyes is on the road, your eyes are on the path, guess what you'll be on? The road and the path. If your eyes is looking at the exit that's 3 lanes over, you're going to be hitting somebody's car as your car veers into the other lane. So I agree with that. And then Cousin Mo, the other thing that you shared about being reflective, A lot of people that are reflective have gone through something to get to that point. Like there's a wall that I want to say that they went through to get to that point. And even when it comes to like being on First Row and people are like, oh, you know, your thoughts are really deep, or the types of questions you ask are thought provoking. When I'm there, I was like, yeah, but I went through some darkness to get to the point to where if I want to talk about a topic, whether freestyle it or be very intentional with it, I've done that level of soul searching in myself. So the types of questions that I'm asking are the same types of questions I had to learn to ask myself about the decisions I was making in regards to women, and the decisions I was making in regards to money, the decisions I was making in regards to fatherhood. And so because I'm accustomed to asking those questions because of the trauma that I had to go through, and I'm not even going to victimize myself, the trauma that I caused that I had to go through, I'm a lot more reflective. And just like you, Cousin Mo, and Matt, I'm sure you're very reflective as well. It's because of what we went through. And that's where I think that jealousy, oh, I wish I could think or have these types of thoughts or articulate in that manner. It's like, well, you just got to work to get there. But hopefully it doesn't require the pain that initiated it in my life. Because your boy, you think I'm buff now, Cousin Mo. You should have seen me when I was depressed, looking like I think I was at my lowest, like at about 130 pounds or something like that.
130?
Yeah.
That's high school weight.
I was looking.
Hey, both of y'all, I'm 130 now. I'm like, yeah, I can get it. I don't rock with y'all like that. See, President Gatewood, get them in the chat. Let them have it.
Yeah, nah, I was skinny, and I have one picture of my son playing on the playground, and I was holding him up on the monkey bars, and I can see how skinny I was, and I looked like I was looking at the picture like, why didn't nobody ask like if I was on drugs? Because I was that skinny. But it was just I wasn't eating because I was just stressed out and depressed, and life was not going in a good direction. So I definitely 130 pounds, all muscle. He said, "You all muscle, Cousin Mo. You good? You good?"
Solid.
Thank you, sir.
But so I can definitely relate with that. That reflectiveness is something that's very hits home for me. So we're now at the end, but I want to ask you guys the last question that I got for you guys for the evening. As with every intersation, I like to close with my, or at least close the conversation portion with my guests. For yourselves, either one of you guys can go first. If there were 2 or 3 points that you would want people to take away with them tonight from tonight's intersation, whether they're watching live right now or watching via the replay, what would those points be? And you can, oh, well, Matt, you're unmuted. You can go first.
All right. So I would think that one of the major points would be is jealousy in its purest form is unnecessary. And if you use the energy it costs to be jealous, to do whatever it is to achieve what it is you desire, it no longer has to be jealousy. It's not like some big, big scientific workaround. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. Just literally whatever it is that triggers a jealous feeling. If you can look at that as fuel, it can keep you going. Point 2, staying in your lane, staying focused, staying in alignment with what it is you actually want, so as not to need to be jealous of anyone because you're staying in your bag. And 3, yeah, your bathroom ain't really doing nothing if you don't got a bidet.
That's it.
That's all. That's it. All right, Cousin Mo, what you got?
I like the car theme, so I'm gonna take 3 there. So you're standing at a crossroad, and the fastest moving form of jealousy is that negative jealousy. It can hit you quick, boom, just like that. You didn't know. So you're looking out in the street, and you see the first car that's coming across. That's that negative form of jealousy. And so you got to watch out for that. You remember when they was telling you how to cross that road, they said, look both ways though, because you can look that other way and there can be a slower moving form of jealousy, which is that positive one, the one that you can use to motivate you. And then the last one is When you don't see that coming super fast, that negative, and you don't see that slow one coming, don't keep standing right there on the corner. Cross the street. Like my guy said, get back in your bag and get focused again. You know you got to go somewhere. You wasn't just coming to stand on this street corner. You were coming to cross that street and keep moving forward. So whatever that thing is, whether it's a personal relationship, a professional relationship, and you're looking to go somewhere, remember that you are trying to go somewhere. Jealousy does happen. Sometimes it's fast. Sometimes it's not even really impactful, but it is there. Sometimes it's slow, and it can be the positive thing that you need. Whichever one it is, remember, don't stand on that corner. Cross that street.
All right, Cousin Mo. I like that. I like that. We got Miss Chantel, I think that is, says right, and I think she was talking to you, Cousin Mo. No, I definitely I like all three of them, and the bonus one that Matt gave. Staying focused, staying in your lane, staying in the bag, and repurposing energy. Man, like I tell my kids all the time, there's never a point in life where you need to be rude. That doesn't mean that I'm not a rude person at time, even sometimes to the degree to my children.
Understand it's not necessary. It's
right.
Not necessary.
It's not necessary. And if you can repurpose that rudeness, or if you can repurpose that jealousy, that envy, if you can repurpose that energy that you're going to expend on that, imagine how much further you would be as if every time you had the opportunity to be jealous, you said, I'm about to work that much harder. I'm about to put in that much more time. I'm about to sharpen my knife that much more. I'm going to hone my craft that much more. You'd be so much further along. But I think it is some of the things that you're saying, Cousin Mo, about being at that street or on that sidewalk ready to cross the street. And instead of expending energy to get across the street, you're spending energy like, oh, well, look at that car. Well, look at that car. Ain't even a car coming, but I'm going to wait. Oh, well, look at that car. You haven't made the progress across the street because you're so busy purposing that energy for jealousy that you're going to stay on the same side of the street. And unfortunately, you may not realize you haven't even made it across to your actual goal, which was the other side of the street, because your energy is so focused on being toxic to yourself. So I like those takeaways. I appreciate you guys. As always, intersations are always fun. I love intersation panels because they're even that much more fun for myself. Matt, I appreciate you jumping out of your comfort zone, getting in the lane. Definitely hope this is not your last time being on the first row. I would love to have you come on again.
I'll be back.
All right, and you got a camera now. You gotta use it. You gotta use it.
All the way up in there now.
Cousin
Hey,
Mo.
we might need to get Matt on so he can help me formulate this vet talks, because I'm still passionate about it and I would like to hear veterans' experiences. I know we got journeys, we got things that we're dealing with that we've recovered from, some things that we still dealing with, and some we just like, don't even open up that Pandora's box. So we're gonna have to start having some conversations that are real central and geared, just so I can kind of figure out where I want to be. Like I said, if you're still focusing and trying to find your passion, talk to Cousin Roe. Email is in the chat.
Emails in the chat for sure. Before we get out of here, I want to go ahead and provide. So first things first, 1stWroe. Where did we get this name from? The 1stWroe. 1stWroe is actually based on a lesson that was taught to me by a business mentor at a very young age. I was taught something very specific about the 1stWroe. Roe is my last name, W-R-O-E. It's play on my last name. But the lesson is what really brought this name to life for me. I was taught at a very young age that two things happen to people who sit on the 1stWroe. They make the most money and they get the most information. And that is simply because there is no distraction between them and the person who is providing that information. So that is where the name 1stWroe was born. So because you guys are on the 1stWroe tonight, I always like to end Intersations with tools for the 1stWroe. If you're here, you're rocking with us, you're to this point, you definitely need some tools that you can take outside of the tools that have already been provided, because I feel like both guests dropped some nuggets for you guys, and actually you guys were in the chat dropping nuggets tonight. So there were tons of tools dropped tonight, but there's tools that I like to share. These tools for the 1stWroe are tools that basically, as I started creating the content and creating the questions, were tools that I started thinking about for myself on how I approach jealousy and envious emotions. So these tools, I think I got 4 for you tonight. I always forget what number I get. The number is random, but the number tonight is I got 4 tools for you tonight when it comes to what are you jealous about. So I want to share these with you guys, and then I'll let you guys get out for the night. The very first tool that I came with was perception is not always reality. And I almost also associated that to be careful what you wish for. Sometimes in life we say, oh, I wish I had what such and such has, but going back to, we don't know what such and such's journey was. Even for the people that we know, like I know Matt, I know Cousin Moses, I know these people. However, I wasn't with them every waking moment of their lives. So there's things that they may have gone through. There's things they may have experienced that I don't want to experience, that I may not have made it through successfully like they've made it through to where they're at today. So the first tool is really that perception is not always reality. And so instead of getting so indoctrinated with that story that we tell ourselves, oh, well, they got it on easy street or they had a silver spoon, you'd be surprised to find that some people who are extremely wealthy grew up extremely poor. Now, that's not everybody, don't get me wrong. However, there are some people who have become extremely successful by society's standards that didn't have a whole lot. LeBron James is probably one of those cats who didn't have a whole lot, but he really was super disciplined on, I got to play basketball. I got to do this, not just for me, but I got to do this for my family because I don't see a way out of this situation without this ball in my hand. So that's the first tool. You may not know the entire price that somebody paid to get to where they're at. So be careful what you wish for and realize that your perception is not necessarily their reality. The second tool that I came up with is ask about the road. And Matt, this really resonated with me when you said about repurposing energy. And so when I say ask about the road, instead of wasting energy being jealous about what others have accomplished, what others have achieved, why not take the time to ask them about that journey? Ask them about what they have experienced. Ask them about those trials and tribulations instead of making them up in your own head. And the little story that I have that kind of really resonates with me on this ask about the road is when I first moved to Utah and I was going on these hikes. So I'd be going on these hikes to see like waterfalls and different types of landscape that's super beautiful out here in Utah. And I'd be going on these hikes and people would be coming back from the direction that I'm heading in. And I'd be like, how much further is the waterfall from here? They're like, it's like 10 minutes. Okay, cool. Then I run into somebody 10 minutes later. Hey, how much further is the waterfall from here? And that was the only question I was asking. I wasn't asking anything about the journey. I wasn't asking anything about the path that I was on. And there were certain times I got to one waterfall and it was like, okay, there's a waterfall that's beautiful and it's right in front of you. But if you really want to see it, you got to go down this steep hill that's super loose soil that's dangerous. And you got to like go from tree to tree to get down there. Had I been more focused on about what's on the path to the waterfall, I would have understood how to mentally prepare my body for the journey that it made. But because I was just like, how much further to the waterfall? How much further to the waterfall? Then I get to the waterfall. I enjoy the waterfall, beautiful waterfall, but now I got to take the journey back. And on the journey back, because all I was asking was how much further to the waterfall, my legs are exhausted. And so I remember I like the steps that I was taking on the way there where my legs were healthy and strong. Now it's like I jump down off a rock, I fall to the ground because my legs don't want to catch me. So that tool about asking about the road is really about repurposing that energy so that you can put yourself further along in your own path. If you're headed on the road that somebody else is headed on, don't be jealous that they're headed on the road and they're further ahead of you. If you can catch up and have that conversation, hey, you know, what kind of fuel are you using? What kind of work ethic are you displaying? What kind of engine you got in that bad boy that's getting you to where I'm trying to go? Like if I'm trying to make money, if I'm trying to save, if I'm trying to invest, what is it that you're doing that's allowing you to do that? Oh, you take 3% of your check. So 3 cents out of every dollar. That's it. I can afford 3 cents out of every dollar. Let me start doing that. So ask about the road. Don't get so caught up about the destination. Oh, where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you going? No. Ask about the road. Because if they're ahead of you, they can tell you about some of those roadblocks, some of those stops that are going to get in your way and that may impede your progress. So that's the second tool. The third tool is don't get success distracted. Oh my gosh. And I can't even really word this right, but I mean it the way I said it. Don't get success distracted. Sometimes we get so busy admiring somebody else's work that we don't put the effort into it ourselves. It's almost like when I have a really good friend of mine who makes great money. And we've been out on trips and hung out and stuff. And I remember being on a trip with him one time, and we were talking, and he was like, you know, Ro, the reason why I don't ever mind about going on trips with you is because when I started making really good money, you never treated me any differently. Like, it wasn't like, well, now you make the most money, so you got to pay for all the food, or you got to pay for the room on your own, and I'm not 50-50 in. Like, I'm not distracted by his success. I'm still his friend the same way I was his friend, whether you have money or you don't have money. And that reminds me of the one lesson that I have learned thus far from a homeless individual. There was two individuals having a conversation that were homeless. And one of the persons, when I was walking past, I just overheard this conversation. The person said, you know that I'm really your friend. She said, and the reason you know I'm really your friend is because I'm your friend and you don't have anything. So I'm going to be your friend whether you have or you have not. And I was like, dang, like, that's real. When you really don't have anything and I don't have anything else, I don't have anything to offer you and you don't have anything to offer me, but I'm still your friend. I'm still a companion with you. I still interact with you. That is true friendship. And so really don't get distracted by the success of others to where you let up off the gas on your pedal, thinking that they're going to attach you to their vehicle and carry you all the way. If you want something, if you desire something, go and get it and don't stop until you get it. Now, I'm not saying go recklessly to get it, but don't stop until you get it. Put that effort forward, even if others make it there before you. If you're running a 5K and everybody else crosses the finish line, if your goal was to run a 5K, you don't stop running until you cross the finish line. So that's tool number 3. Don't get success distracted. And then the fourth and the final tool is ask yourself what you really want. And I think, Cousin Mo, this goes back to reflection. Reflecting on what are the desires that you set out with initially. And it's okay. Desires evolve. They change. I used to desire Nintendo 64, and then now I desired, the Xbox One. I don't still desire the Nintendo 64 unless somebody want to catch Fade and GoldenEye.
hey, let's keep the freshman in here now.
But I will say, ask yourself what you really want and truly pursue that. And it's okay to be a cheerleader. It's okay to be a fan of somebody else's success and be genuinely happy for them. And I think that goes back to, Matt, what you were saying, that admiration. It's okay to have that, but go after what you want, because this is your life. You got to live it. And at the end of the finish line of life, when it's all said and done, what good is your life if all you did was pursue the things that other people had, but you never really wanted? You're going to be left very unfulfilled. In my opinion, I think you'll be left very unfulfilled. You'll have all these accolades and accomplishments that really don't mean anything to your soul or to your being. And because they don't mean anything to you, you're going to be unfulfilled. So those are the 4 tools that I came up with. Number 1, again, perception is not always reality. Number 2 is ask about the road. Number 3 is don't get success distracted. And number 4 is ask yourself what you really want. And I'm going to add one more thing to that. And it's okay if what you really want changes, but just be honest with yourself. That's the kicker to that. So I hope you guys have really enjoyed tonight's Intersations panel on what are you jealous about. The next time that we'll actually be live on the First Row will be tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is a Wednesday word on more connectivity with less connection. If you want to know what that's about, you're going to have to tap in on that live so you can get that information. For those who are watching live, I definitely appreciate you guys being engaged in the chat tonight. For those who are watching via the replay, thank you guys for taking a moment of your time to engage with us on the replay. But as always, if you like this video, please share it. If you have not subscribed yet to the First Row, I don't know what you're waiting for. You need to click that subscription button underneath the video right now, and then click the bell so you can be notified when we are live on the First Row. That's how we're doing it. Hey, I like that. Thanks, Mick Frisco. But be notified when we're live by clicking the bell. And then also for those who are watching via the replay, we do engage with you guys up to the first week of content being released. So if you put something in the comments, I'm checking that regularly, and other people are checking that regularly to respond to that. So if you have something that you want to say about the video, though you're not on the live, you can't dictate the conversation the way it goes right now, we're happy to engage with you for the first week while the content is fresh on the site. Other than that, if you like it, share it. If you share it, like it, Again, happy to engage with you on all different aspects. If you have a new topic you want to drop for us, send us an email at topics@1stWroe.com. We will look at if that's a topic we want to bring to the table. We'll not only give you a shout out on that topic, but we'll let you know when it's actually going to air. But other than that, thank you guys for tuning in. Matt, Moses, thank you guys for being on tonight and rocking with me. Appreciate it. Chat, thank you guys for rocking with us. You guys have a great evening. One love, peace, and God bless.
Peace.
Peace.